So good morning. When I directed Secretary Pollock and her team to undertake this study on congestion, I asked them to look at when, where, and why congestion occurs across the Commonwealth, and then to pursue an analysis of a variety of options and alternatives to deal with it here in Massachusetts. This report, which I think is 186 pages long, is that about right?
About right.
Yeah. Details traffic patterns and choke points across the region throughout the day. Unsurprisingly, the results show that while congestion is a problem on many state roads, why and when it happens varies significantly across the state. It's important to remember that this report only looks at state roads, as our team does not have detailed information about local roads, which I think we all know also make up a significant portion of most people's commute. No one likes traffic and congestion, period, and it's a frustrating and inconvenient reality for too many people. A booming economy and a growing population are exacerbating the congestion problem in recent years. More people working means more people on the roads at the same time of day, and Massachusetts' limited stock of purchasable housing means more and more people living further away from their jobs, resulting in many cases as longer commutes. But that's something you've heard me talk about before. The report also finds, and again, it's no surprise, that the worst part of this issue is variability. Unpredictability. Trips can vary significantly due to one-off incidents like a bad crash or a disabled vehicle or something else. When people can't plan for their commute to take the same amount of time each day, it affects work schedules, child care arrangements, school drop-offs and pickups, and a whole variety of other issues, and the new word called cushioning has found its way into the commuter lexicon. And that also affects how you make plans with your friends and your family. The Secretary will get into more details shortly, but what her team found as they did this study is that there's no single cause of congestion. It's interconnected to other issues as well. As next steps, we hope to work with the legislature, the private sector, and local officials to support a series of solutions to tackling these issues. The good news is we've already made some progress on transportation projects and investments to reduce congestion on the roads and to add capacity to our public transportation system. The MBTA is in the midst of implementing a 5-year, $8 billion plan to improve reliability that will also add almost 100,000 seats to the system. We're completely replacing the fleets on the red and orange lines and purchasing bi-level coaches with far more seats for some of the busiest commuter rail rides. The T is now running 10,000 more trips annually on the commuter rail system than it was in 2014, and ridership continues to increase. The T is taking on major expansion projects in South Coast Rail and the Green Line extension, providing residents in these areas of Massachusetts with new options for getting where they need to go. The T has also replaced 1/3 of its bus fleet in the past few years and has almost 200 new hybrid buses in production. They've launched early morning and late night bus service and extended the Silver Line to Chelsea, expanding service options for riders. The T continues to work with municipalities to create designated bus lanes in communities, which can also cut down on travel time for bus riders and open up roads for those in automobiles. These all give commuters a reason and an opportunity to leave their car at home. But there's obviously much more to do. Poor road conditions contribute to congestion, and we've made significant progress here, laying down thousands of miles of pavement on state and local roads and completing 220 bridge projects to improve the condition of over 400 bridges. We've put forth our housing choice legislation, which would result in more housing options across the state, which would allow communities to build more housing so people can live closer to where they work, and in many cases closer to public transportation options. Again, giving them an opportunity to leave their car at home. This is in addition to our efforts to cut red tape and create more transit-oriented development projects and additional housing options that are located near public transportation. Earlier this year, we filed TNC legislation that will give communities better data on trips that are happening in their cities and towns. These services are popular, but as they pick up and drop off passengers, and cruise or drive around empty, they create traffic jams and congestion. Communities need to know where and at what time the majority of the pickups and drop-offs are happening in their community so that they can put systems in place to limit the impact these services have on traffic flow. And we recently filed an $18 billion transportation bond bill that includes proposals to address local road bottlenecks and allow the T to partner with more cities and towns to create dedicated bus lanes and encourage telecommuting with businesses. Coupled with the recommendations in this report, these initiatives that we already have underway can help address the congestion that commuters are facing each day on our road. Today's report puts forward recommendations tailored to fit Massachusetts' unique needs. They include more explicit cooperation between municipalities and the state. For example, many cities and towns have outdated intersection designs and traffic signals that haven't been updated in decades. We found that many times the backups at an old intersection leads to backups on state and local roadways, affecting more and more drivers. We believe there are steps that we can take to help local governments with tools they can use to manage traffic, like smarter traffic signals to address bottlenecks. For example, we'll create a new grant program for municipalities to offer technical support so that cities and towns can develop their own transportation and management plans and implement some of the tools that can be effective in helping them move traffic through their own communities. The report also took a long look at congestion pricing, smart tolling, and what other states and cities are doing with these options. The report found smart tolling, or the practice of using existing toll gantries to increase the cost on that tolled road at peak times to encourage travel before or after the typical rush, would be difficult to implement in Massachusetts. First, we only have toll gantries on the Mass Pike and a few bridges and tunnels, and the gantries on the Mass Pike are in the wrong place if the goal is to disrupt when and how people use their roads. Second, on many commuter routes, drivers are already leaving later or earlier to avoid the typical rush hour without a price incentive to do so. Rush hour starts earlier and ends later than it did 4 or 5 years ago. I also have significant concerns, which I've stated before, that this type of congestion pricing would only punish drivers who work fixed shifts or have no flexibility for obligations like school and child care drop-off. Without another option, this concept would only cost money for folks who have no other options. It would not do much to deal with the existing congestion we already have. The report also found that the cordon approach, where higher tolls are charged to reach a major city to encourage public transportation, would be very difficult to do. For one, cities, not states, have implemented these elsewhere because they require tolling systems on local roads, something communities are not able to do here under existing law. And for those who believe that this approach reduces congestion, I suggest they read the section of the report that discusses the history of this initiative in London. And as I've said before, penalizing drivers without providing alternatives who have no choice because of work shifts or school or child care is not a proposal I would support. Lastly, the report found that what is called managed lane approaches to congestion pricing does offer Massachusetts a possible opportunity. This works in a variety of ways in other states and jurisdictions, but generally speaking, states create a separate new lane on a highway with severe congestion that's tolled alongside no-toll roads so that drivers have options. While drivers have a choice to commute in a faster lane for a cost, drivers who remain in the untolled lane will also experience lighter volume from those who peel off for the faster lane. There are many ways to do this, but several themes come through. First, buses and vans almost always have free access to these lanes, providing many riders with affordable, dependable alternatives to driving themselves. Second, there are some tools for managing congestion within the toll road, limiting the number of users or using a toll price that floats up or down with volume. Third, this lane has to be in addition to existing untolled lanes, though those who don't drive in the tolled lane do not lose a traffic lane when a toll lane is added. I believe this idea has significant merit, but requires significant planning and design work, which we will pursue. I believe it's the fairest and most doable option with respect to congestion pricing models, given our road configurations and traffic patterns as they currently exist. And as I said before, addressing congestion is a major focus of much of our transportation planning and many of our other initiatives. The housing choice legislation, the transportation bond bill, the TNC legislation, these all need to be part of a package that's associated with how we deal with congestion. And I do believe that many of the recommendations and the insights that are available in this report can build on the work that's been done to date, and we look forward to having a chance to pursue it with the legislature, with our colleagues in local government, and with those in the transportation, housing, and employer community.